Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Kelsi. I'm the creator of Bite-Sized Ancient History and I'm currently a student at the University of Cambridge. So please like and subscribe for more student-related content. So today I thought it might be useful if I go through my undergraduate dissertation and give some tips and tricks to really ensure those higher grades. So for my undergraduate degree, I did classics at the University of Warwick and my dissertation got an 82%, which is great. It does mean, however, that the tips and tricks may not apply to all of the courses which people will be studying. Obviously, a humanities-based essay and dissertation is going to be very different to a science-based one. But I'm still going to be giving some general tips at the end, so please stay tuned and see if any of it can help you. So first of all, I'm just going to be giving some general tips in the run-up to writing your dissertation, because if you've only been doing short 2,000, 3,000 word essays and you suddenly hear that you have to write a 10,000 word piece, it can be quite daunting. So one of the tips that my supervisor gave me is to not look at it as one massive piece of work, but break it down in your mind to 3 individual, 3,000 word essays. And this way, you can start to approach it in a calmer manner because you have done that before, so it is achievable, rather than thinking, oh my god, it's this massive 10,000 word piece on something and I just don't even know where to start. Tip number 2, I would try and set yourself really strict deadlines with when you want to get a certain piece researched, a certain section written, because again, when you're given a whole year to finish out a project, it's really easy when you've got other closer deadlines to start pushing it off. And then the worst thing you want is come Easter, you suddenly realise you have to start it all and you don't have anything. So you want to be setting yourself strict deadlines. Personally, I tried to have all of my research done by the Christmas holiday. I then wanted my first chapter written halfway through the second term, and then the second chapter at the end of that term, and then to finish it during the Easter holidays. But you're going to have to work it out with your own deadlines. Our dissertation deadline was quite a lot earlier than other subjects, so your timetable might have to vary a little bit. So tip number 3, please use and contact your supervisor when you need to, because they're there to help you. They're not going to feel like you're being a nuisance, because I know that's what I felt sometimes when I email and ask certain questions, is that I'm bothering them, and that's not the case. That's literally their job. They have chosen to be a supervisor in this case. Obviously, this doesn't mean that you can email them midnight on a Sunday. You still have to be reasonable, and they're just humans like you. But there should be some sort of departmental guideline to what kind of time period you have to wait for a response. So if they haven't responded to you and that time period has finished, please feel free to contact them again. And also if they are being a bit of a nuisance, because I know some can, that's not to slander anybody, but they can be, so don't hesitate to contact the department, because it may have just completely slipped under their radar and you don't want your grade to be harmed by that. Finally, tip number 4 in your preparation for dissertation is that the summer before your final year, you just want to do some light reading. You don't want to turn up in the first term having absolutely no idea what you're going to be writing about, because that's going to be very, very stressful. And in that first term, you're going to be wanting to get some of the basic research and fundamentals down so that you can start discussing it with your supervisor. Equally, they're going to be a little bit annoyed if they're having to write it for you and choose your topic because you haven't bothered to just get an idea really of what you are interested in that subject. So personally, I had a general idea of what I was really interested in, and in the last term of second year I contacted a potential supervisor, and this meant that the whole summer it was a little bit of a weight lifted, because I knew already what direction I was going in and what steps needed to be taken, rather than just being thrown in at the deep end in the first term. Okay, so next I'm going to give you an idea of structure and talk you through the individual components within my dissertation. So I'm going to attach an image of my contents page of the dissertation, so please feel free to screenshot this. Again, like I said, it's going to be somewhat specific to what I'm writing about and my subject, but it can still give you a general idea of what you should be including and the way the structure should play out. So first of all, and quite obviously, is your introduction. Within your introduction, you want to grasp the reader. You want to really pinpoint what it is you're focusing on and how that contributes to general research in the real world, because they want to feel like there is a purpose to your dissertation, not just you're doing it because you kind of like it. It needs to fill a gap within scholarly research at the time, or something that just hasn't been done at all. And you really want to highlight this to them and be like, look, this is so impressive, I'm thinking about it this way, this has not been done before, and it can yield X, Y, and Z possibilities. Then after you've done that, you want to really start introducing in detail what your plan is, what you're going to be doing. So what are your case studies, what is your methodology, and why it is that way, what information is it going to yield, how is it going to address your research question. Then after that, depending on the order and the way it's fitting within your dissertation, I personally went on to historiography and just brought the reader up to date with what the research is like in that area today. What has been done, what hasn't been done, again, how I'm fitting into those gaps. Then for the last bit of your introduction, or just somewhere within that introduction, you want to give a historical overview of the kind of time period that you're working with, what's important that's happening that may affect what you are putting forward within your dissertation, because your reader may not be a specialist necessarily within that area. They're obviously going to be part of that subject, but there are so many different areas that they're going to be looking at, and it may not overlap with what your research is. So you want to bring them up to date and really help guide them through this dissertation, because I think you're instantly going to be put on a back foot if they're reading it and thinking, well, I don't know what they're talking about. You don't want to shoot yourself in the foot by not giving them the basic information that you need because you're just presuming that they know it. I think the best idea is to presume they don't know anything and really just talk them through it. So once you've done your introduction, you are going to want to get into your case studies or your chosen points that you're focusing on. So what I usually do here is reiterate exactly what you're going to be doing within that section. Again, just helping and guiding the reader through it. Once you've done that, you're going to want to give an overview of what your source evidence is within that, and you're going to be wanting to give like the 5 W's of just explaining what is happening, the where, the when, and so on. Again, because it's showing your wider knowledge of the topic and that you're not giving a biased or one-way take on the information. Once you've done that, then you're going to actually want to get into your analysis. I don't really know what I can say to help you with that. I can give some general tips in another video. If that would be useful, please comment down below. But generally it's going to be quite subjective depending on what your subject area is and what you're trying to achieve. Then finally, once you've done your analysis, you're going to want to link it clearly back to your research question, what you have addressed, how you've done it, and what you've achieved by doing this analysis. Again, helping the reader through it and showing how you've clearly answered your research aims and targets. So with regards to case studies, I just looked at 2 main case studies or points, and that was for an 8,000 to 10,000 word dissertation. So it's obviously going to vary on what kind of material you're working with, what kind of evidence, and how long a dissertation you need to be writing. So as I said, I did 2 case studies, so then after that we will be moving on to the conclusion. Again, with the conclusion, what you want to do is really clearly reiterate what you have found by doing this research, how it has filled in gaps within other scholars' research, how it has put forward other questions that you might want to look to in the future, and at the end you kind of want to suggest any wider implications or future research that might be needed with regards to this topic, because markers are going to be looking at that and thinking that you haven't just simply answered your question that you've put out at the beginning, but you've also thought about the wider importance of the topic and you're using that almost scholarly mind, really. So finally, I'm just going to be giving you some general tips for the actual process of writing your dissertation. Number one, as I've mentioned a few times throughout this video, is guide the reader. You do not want the reader at any point to feel like they've got whiplash from a sudden change of topic, change of subject with absolutely no explanation. You want to be like, this is this, look at this, look at that, look at this, why, how, where, and so on. You want to make it very, very clear for them and a pleasure to read rather than feeling very jarring. Secondly, one of the things that they're going to be looking for when marking it is that you're engaging with scholarship. You obviously want to focus on recent scholarship because if you're looking at something written from 1910, for example, there may be something more recently written on it disproving it, so it would make your research a little bit null and void. But what they want to see is you really engaging, answering these questions and being critical of other people's work. That doesn't mean to say that you should rip into them and say this is absolute rubbish. It's taking good points and bad points, saying, whilst I agree with this bit, I think if they looked at it from this angle, we might reach a more balanced conclusion, as an example. Point number 3, I personally try to write in the third person as much as possible. Because if you're reading a piece of writing and it's written, I think this, I believe that, it seems like the argument is that little bit weaker. Whereas if you're having the more non-subjective look at the piece of information, it just carries more weight and comes across as a stronger argument. There's obviously going to be bits in there that are your personal opinion and that feel more natural for you to use first person pronouns, but that you really need to be careful with when you're using it, and that if you do commit to one, most of the piece is then written in the third person or in the first person, because if you're using it differently throughout the whole thing, even in the same paragraph, it's going to be very jarring again for the reader to look through it. And finally, number 4, and this is probably an unpopular one, you're gonna want to cite as you are going through and writing this, because I am guilty of this, of writing a 3,000 word essay and being really lazy and not doing proper citations throughout. Not great, but easier for you to go back through, find the pages, find your sources or whatever. With a 10,000 word dissertation, if you're doing that, you have shot yourself in the foot. There is no way that you're not going to have some kind of breakdown trying to find this information again, because you're going to use so many different resources from so many different places, and it's just, you're making your life harder for yourself if you leave it at the end. Also, as a general guideline, so like I said, mine came out to around 9,500 words and I used about 150 footnotes. So I'm not saying that that's perfect, but that is a general target that you can aim for. I know it's quite useful sometimes to just know how much other people are citing, so you know if, oh, I think I'm missing some information, I need to back that up a bit more, or if you've got enough already. And that is everything. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you find this useful, and even if you don't do classics or history, I hope that some general tips will still be helpful for you. So thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!